Teaching your children to respect God by teaching them to respect you. As a father of 7 children plus grandchildren, over the years I have learned a thing or two when it comes to raising children. Of course, my learning involved making my own mistakes along the way. However, as a strong Bible-believing Christian, I also know about a few vitally important fundamentals to understand from Scripture. With this post, my desire is to help in the adventure of raising well-adjusted children in today's difficult world. First of all, who are we as God-created human beings? Most psychologists tell us that we are basically born empty, like a computer that hasn't been programmed yet. We start out with a certain God-given temperament, built-in behavior like being artistic or musical, and then, over time, we develop our personality through learning and experiencing life. Let's look at what the Bible has to say about this. In Psalm 51:5, we read the following: "Surely I was sinful at birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me." And Romans 5:12. When Adam sinned, sin entered the world. Adam's sin brought death, so death spread to everyone, for everyone sinned. Here we learn that all humans are sinners by nature. It is basically in our blood to be sinful, inherited from Adam. When observing young children, this becomes evident, as you don't have to teach them how to be selfish, take toys away from other children, or be aggressive. It all comes naturally. In fact, the opposite is true. We must teach our children to be kind, to share, and how to treat others and their property with respect. I must address a powerful, fundamental issue I have observed among children and adults alike, which is related to what happened in the Garden of Eden. Much of human behavior is fueled by a promise Satan made to Adam and Eve: "Eat, and you can be your own God." Read Genesis 3. And how does wanting to be God generally manifest? Pride and selfishness. We want what we want from a very young age, and our behavior is solely based on feelings, since feelings, or our flesh, are all we know at that point. We are told by scientists that the first 6 years in a person's life create a strong foundation. Whatever we teach them or don't teach them lays the groundwork for future development. Therefore, raising children and teaching them must happen very early on, before selfish habits are developed. Just like we teach them as soon as possible not to run across a busy street or eat sugar all day. By giving children all kinds of choices puts them in charge, feeding into our natural problem with selfishness. Taking the lead as parents and creating healthy boundaries, on the other hand, gives young children a sense of safety. The first teaching can happen when infants learn to sleep without being cuddled. Making sure that all their needs are met before being put to bed, they can learn that first important lesson in trust, independence, and respect. As parents, persistence and being consistent in applying a good system is very important here. One of the ways to instill and teach good sleeping habits is by first making sure they are fed, diaper changed, and healthy, and then putting them down to sleep. Of course, they want to be cuddled and held instead, and start crying and even screaming. As the parent and adult in charge, we now teach them to respect our role as leaders. It is time to sleep. Again, being persistent is vitally important here. Going into the room and softly patting them for a short time every 10 to 15 minutes, and then leaving them to go to sleep, shows them that they are loved and okay. This method might take a few weeks to finally work, but it certainly helps parents and for the infant to develop trust and independence. As they get older, we teach them first lessons in respecting others' property, like don't touch daddy's computer or guitar. We teach them to take on responsibilities and consequences resulting from one's actions. Creating a mess with toys holds the natural consequence of having to clean up after playtime. Disobedience towards parents should also hold consequences, like no playtime until a willingness to respect the parents is shown. Giving them small tasks to do teaches taking on the responsibility of doing a good job and finishing a task. Listening to and obeying parents at a young age is obviously very important and can even be life-saving. While attempting to run across a busy street, we certainly would not want to discuss with a 2-year-old why this isn't a good idea. Thinking about life-saving choices and decisions later on in life, listening to God and obeying His leading becomes vitally important. Raising children and teaching them comes with a great responsibility, as they are first and foremost God's children. Learning to respect parents, their God-given authority, and respecting others will help them in learning to respect God and that there will be consequences for our actions. Ephesians 6:1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. And Revelation 22:12. Look, I am coming quickly. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done. One last and very important advice. Parents should never argue in front of their children, as it creates an atmosphere of insecurity. The home should always feel safe. Also, disagreeing about a child's behavior and how to deal with it can cause a child to play the parents. Like, if I don't get it from Mom, I'll go to Dad. Parents must agree on how to raise and discipline their children. Discussions and compromises shouldn't be addressed in front of them. As this short article is certainly not exhaustive regarding the topic of raising children, you can find many wonderful, much more in-depth resources at Focus on the Family.